Hello and welcome to the FEZ show. It is now the 4th of August 2020 and let's say it's race week. Or more specifically though, it's actually one day away from the action restarting in Berlin. So today we'll be previewing the first double header of action and we've got such a day ahead of us because we've got driver press conferences happening in about an hour after finishing recording, then more driver interviews all lined up. So make sure that you obviously check out the Formula Rezone website during the day, or so once you've seen this podcast. Obviously, if you haven't seen any of the day's action, go to the website and check out all the latest stories ahead just to get your Formula E vibe on. And who best to continue that Formula E vibe than the one and only Jack Pickering. Morning, Jack.
Good morning, mate. There are a lot better candidates than me to be doing this, but I was the one that was available. So yes, hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning indeed. We have to start though because it's crazy this. I just want to get your, because it's not like a normal race weekend, because one, we're racing on a Wednesday and a Thursday. Two, the season itself will be over very quickly. As in, like, we've got Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then boom, it's done. So as much as we've been looking forward to Formula E coming back, it won't be long until we're having to wait the agonising wait till January until we have to restart again.
Yeah, and the start of next season is not even going to be a double header, so we can't like get that rush of boom boom 2 days, two races in one weekend in Santiago in January. Yeah, no, we have been waiting a very long time to see Formula E action back, and whilst like all the other motor racing series, they've all already come back, apart from World Endurance, which also runs the same, well, for the last couple of years has run the same winter to summer schedule instead of the traditional Gregorian calendar that all the other series do. But yeah, it's fantastic. I'm so excited that we're going to see some cars not just out on track tomorrow, but we will see them out on track tonight because Shakedown is tonight as well. But no, I'm really looking forward to it because the one thing that draws me in with Formula E is that you just don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen over the next 9 days. Antonio Felix da Costa, he's sitting pretty at the top of the championship by 11 points. But the thing is, we've got more races in the next 9 days than we did in the first, 8 months of this calendar, even though the last 6 there's been nothing. But we've got so many races, it's anyone's game, and whoever does best in Berlin will become the champion regardless.
Yeah, and we're going to get onto that very soon. But let's talk about this track. Because obviously, so the first week, so don't think we're running the original layout. Because I know like the news has been a bit, choppy and about this. We're actually running the reverse layout. So the original layout for the Berlin track comes this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So the normal way that we've seen for the last couple of seasons will be on Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow, today, which you see on Shakedown. Where do you think, like, obviously the racing now of it? Because obviously when you build a track, tracks aren't built for going the opposite direction sometimes, right? They're not thought about, like, their corners are thought about going the actual way that they want them to make the overtaking moves, to make the corners challenging. So I think when this track was made, the reverse layout was never suggested. So when you look at the track map, Jack, what do you think the racing will be like? Where do you think people might overtake?
Well, yeah, we've discussed this on we've discussed this on previous shows already, but yeah, we know this track was designed to go in one direction. And so the other direction, I don't think will work as well as we really want it to be. But I think it could still work well because the long what is usually the long left-hander of turns 1 and 2 is now the final right-hander, and I think that will deliver a brilliant slingshot onto the start finish straight, and it might produce some good overtaking down into the new turn 1 and the old turn 10. But yeah, no, there will be some parts of the track where it just won't be good to overtake. So going the right way round, where the attack mode activation zone is, that's a brilliant overtaking zone. The reverse way round, I don't think it's going to be an opportunity at all, because they're coming through a they're coming through a very quick chicane of turns 3 and 4, and then they're coming around this curve bit into turn 5. You're going to have to be very opportunistic to try and get an overtake into there. And then it's the same at the end of the. It's the same at what is now the end of that straight as well, into turn 6 and 7. Going into those corners, it will be harder to overtake because usually that's supposed to be the run onto the straight, and instead it's the run off the straight. So I reckon that I reckon that this reverse layout, it won't be as good as the normal layout is. However, that doesn't detract from the main thing, is it's Formula E, and in Formula E, if it fits, it fits. So yeah, who knows? I might be speaking a load of gibberish, and we might have 2 brilliant races this week.
We might do, like, just thinking about it right now. So I like the end of the section. So our little Shanghai section, you know, Berlin, I think with Formula E, we need to give some names to some of these corners because we're struggling. But the Shanghai section, so the old turn 1, which sweeps, I think you're right, to be honest with you. Because that is going to be a real tactical play, I reckon, because you're coming into that section and you're going to have to set up the move, but you have to get it right. You're going to have to set it up and make sure that you're as close as possible, and you get the slingshot out, and then you go straight down to turn 1, which would be the last corner, which could be an overtaking point. It's not straight. Like, that straight isn't straight. Like, when you come to the corner, it sort of like bends right a little bit. So it might be very interesting, like, how they go down there on the brakes down the inside, because it sort of narrows slightly, because on the other track layout it sort of widens, obviously, so you get the bare exit, but this time we're coming the other way, so it's actually narrowing going into turn 1. So it's like, you're going to have respect, I think, from the driver on the outside, which would be the normal racing line going into that corner. The driver on the outside's got to be aware of the driver on the inside, because otherwise there's going to be a lot of T-bones going into that corner, especially if drivers aren't aware going into that corner. So I think that could be really interesting. What also I find interesting is, after the Shanghai section, you've got where the Emotion Club used to be, where the bridge was. They had that little left and then right. I'm very interested to see what it's like coming the other way into that, because it's going to be a quick left into a quick right. It's a left and then bang on the brakes into a right. And obviously, the track was meant to go the other way, like left, small right. That makes sense. But going the other way, I think that might, mistakes could be made going into there, especially locking up, because if you lock straight up there, going into that corner, boom, you're going into the wall. You're not going to recover it going into a right-hander, and there's no runoff area there, where there is sort of towards the left, but on the reverse section, you don't want to be there. So I have a feeling that the reverse layout, Jack, might provide us with some decent racing, but I think because it's the reverse layout, there is more opportunities for mistakes, so therefore I think it will be a harder layout to master than the original that we'll see on Saturday.
Oh yeah, definitely. I 100% agree that it's going to be harder. Because it's brand new. It's a brand new circuit. Well, technically it is. They've just driven it the wrong way around. It's the same circuit, just the wrong way around. Which the teams have been doing a lot of in testing, because when the whole thing about having 6 Berlin races, all the teams went onto the simulator and said, right, okay, drive out the pit lane, do a UE, and then just drive around it the other way. So the drivers get a feel for the track. It could produce exciting racing, but yeah, like you said, that the whole turn 6, turn 7, which will be going into where the tunnel was, that will be a really hard overtaking zone. I think it will be. I think it will be an opportunistic one, because people might just lift off going into 6, so then they can dab on the brake into 7 and go around. So it might be last late break as it usually is in Formula E, and it might produce some overtaking opportunities. But honestly, I think the two main overtaking opportunities are going to be the new turn 1 and turn 2. So what was the last corner and the penultimate corner on the track?
So the two hairpins, effectively. But Jack, it just came into my brain now, right? So Formula One have been calling like the British Grand Prix. So we had the British Grand Prix last weekend, and now we got the 70th anniversary race. And I'm just thinking, are we calling these races 6 Berlin E-Prix races? And maybe should we have called them some catchy names? It just came into my head right now. Should we have called it like the German E-Prix, the Berlin E-Prix, and then I don't know, the Crazy Land E-Prix, or I don't know, like something. I feel like Formula E's missing a trick.
Call it the Germany Prix, but in German, so it's the Deutsch Grand Prix.
Yeah,
Sorted.
because
Berlin Prix, German Grand Prix, Deutsch Grand Prix.
they're all different tracks.
Is it Deutsch Grand Prix or Deutschland Grand Prix?
I think Deutschland.
Right. Toby, comment below. Cheers.
Yeah, we need our German fans to help us out here. But I feel like, because obviously, if they're all Berlin E-Prix,
Tempelhof E-Prix.
Oh yeah,
Tempelhof E-Prix.
Tempelhof.
There we go.
That makes sense. No, I was just thinking of the record books, because obviously because when we look back at Formula One, it won't be. I don't know. So let's say Lewis Hamilton wins next weekend. I don't think it'll count as 8 British Grand Prix wins.
No, it won't. It will count 7 British Grand Prix wins, 1 70th anniversary
win. Right.
And Lewis was very lucky to get that number 7. I'd like to point out, what a final 2 laps. The rest of the race, garbage. Final 2 laps, Jesus Christ. Me and my dad don't watch races that often, but my word.
Yes, but if Formula E, Formula E can produce some sort of entertainment like that, we'll be
Michelin mess up the tyres. Michelin mess up the tyres.
We'll be on our feet, I tell you what, going into these races. But just thinking that because of the stats, right, and how it works. Like, so if we have 6 Berlin E-Prix, then obviously the Berlin stats are going to be very padded, right? So I was just thinking about names in maybe what Formula E could have done to just say, okay, it's like a different E-Prix. But anyway, that's like a side note. It just came into my head, and I was just like, that's interesting. Because obviously the stats in Formula 1 will be squiffed, that's the correct word. Because obviously you got the Styrian GP from Austria and so forth. So from the first Austrian one, it won't be the same, for example. So it's all kind of just weird. Anyway, moving on. Because what I want to say, Jack, is that I think this is like a new season. Like, it feels like a new season. We've waited so long for this. And I'm just trying to think. Antonio De Felix Costa, okay, he goes into this the championship leader. But if you're Da Costa, do you go into this thinking, I am the championship leader, I need to just make sure I finish the race, I do what I need to do, and keep extending, or keep just performing well? Or do you go into think, it's a new season, I'm just going to attack? What would you do?
Well, I think the important thing about Formula E is that you need to get a consistent amount of points, because we've seen that over the years. Even I think season 3 with Lucas Di Grassi, Sebastian Buemi won 6 E-Prix that season. Apart from that, didn't score a point. Apart from the pole position ones and the fastest lap ones. So yeah, I think consistency is key, 100%. So, but the thing is, at the same time, you could have a Stoff, a Mitch, who will just go out there, balls to the wall, and just just try and dominate all these races. But the thing is, like, these guys haven't stepped in a Formula E car for 6 months. Yeah, it would have been 6 months. So yeah, no, it will be well, apart from probably some testing, but yeah. But yeah, so it will be exciting to see how these guys are going to do this long away from actually being on track with others. So yeah, I think consistency is key. But the thing is, as I've said already, Formula E is Formula E. You cannot lift off for a second, because if you do, the rest are coming.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Like, I don't know, like, it's going to be difficult, put it that way, in terms of the mindset, because I was just thinking, when does the nerves come in? When do the nerves come in? Because it doesn't matter what athlete you are, there's always nerves, and even when former drivers talk about it on the grid, like Jenson Button, for example, he'll say, you're on the grid, the nerves are starting to build up. And for Da Costa, because there is so much riding on it, and it could be for so many people, and we're going to get onto that in a second. But Da Costa has been, I think, him and Mitch Evans, who are also second in the championship, not too far behind. Those two for me have been the standout drivers this season. Yes, Jev has done his bit. You could argue Maximilian Gunther's not done too bad, but Evans and Da Costa have just been on fire. And when you get down, because it's not like, okay, I've got 6 races left, right? I've got 6 races left. But you kind of don't, because it's over in 9 days. You've got 6 races in 9 days. And all of a sudden, we said it at the beginning, like when we started these FEZ shows, if Da Costa gets the first race wrong, if something happens tomorrow in that race that doesn't go Da Costa's way, that could be a huge mindset thing. A huge mindset thing. And you start beginning to buckle. You start beginning to try and play the catch-up game, and you try to start forcing things. And so I think it's a really difficult one to play, because you've got to keep your head. But if a poor qualifying performance goes, let's say, it doesn't go his way in Q1, and boom, he's then got to start 13th and try and get into the points, whereas Mitch Evans is 8th or 6th, for example. You already have that feeling of playing catch-up. I think it's going to be an incredible psychological warfare game. You could write a novel really about how people's mindsets are going into this race.
Yeah, and you mentioned it there with the qualifying format. I love the Formula E qualifying format just because it's designed to shake the field, designed to shake the field up, and with the heavy hitters going in Q1, it might put them towards the back of the field. However, with Berlin, as we've seen over the years, Berlin's one of those tracks where it's not that bad going out in Q1 compared to Q4. Whereas we've seen, especially back in Diriyah at the start of the season, we saw basically everyone who was in Q1. I think the highest someone got on the grid was 10th or something. But yeah, no, that's one thing that I absolutely love about Formula E. The fact that the qualifying can shake the entire field up. I don't think it will do as much in Berlin over the next 6 races. However, there is still the opportunity. There is still the opportunity that a Vern or a Bird, who are sitting, I think 8th or 10th, 8th and 10th in the championship, they can still excel and do rather well, and maybe Vern can fight for his 3rd or Sam for his 1st as well.
And that's what I was going to start talking about now, is the drivers, right? Because when you look at the standings, right, behind Da Costa, it's just a couple of points, between Mitch. And if you go down to even like 10th with Sam Bird on 29, and we're talking about that psychological warfare, it just takes one swing. And that swing could happen tomorrow. And all of a sudden, this championship's blown wide open. You could get Sam Bird winning. You could get Oliver Rowland getting on the podium, who's in 9th on 29 or 30 points. And if Da Costa doesn't have that race, or if Mitch and Da Costa, are like 5th or 6th, and Rowland wins, or Bird wins, or someone who's in 8th wins, Mortara, who's up there as well, if they get a shock result, it just blows the championship wide open. And again, the psychological, as I said, like the going into these races is just going to change. It's going to flip-flop. And, it's going to be amazing speaking to the drivers and grasping their emotions over the next couple of days to try and actually work out who's managing it and who's not managing it. Because as you keep saying, and as we all know, right, we're no stranger to this in Formula E, that anything can happen. And if it does, and it usually does, to quote the famous Murray Walker, it could be amazing. And you're looking at Sam Bird now. Regularly, you probably think, probably not in this championship fight. Hasn't had the best start to the season. It only takes 2 results probably for him to go his way, and boom, he's right up there.
Yeah, no, this is the beauty of Formula E. I feel like I've said that a few times already. I feel like I'm a bit of a jack of the box, pull the string, and yeah, I'll say it. Or no, that's not it. Woody from Toy Story.
Yeah,
pull the string says
pull the
same
string. Although a Jack in the Box did kind of work with the roll, boom, boom, boom. Formula E is really unpredictable. Roll. Formula E is really unpredictable.
Yep, I'm just a Jack in a Box. Yeah.
It goes with both our names.
Yeah.
It goes with both our names.
We both are because we're on a Zoom call and we're side by side.
Side by side.
So we have our own separate boxes.
Jack in the box.
Sorted.
Jack in a box.
That
should be
that
the
is
name
the name
of the
of
show.
our new. That's the name of our new ITV Saturday night show.
Yeah, we've done a spin-off show, Jack in a box.
Yeah. But that is the beauty of Formula E. You just don't know what's going to happen. Anyone could do well. I mean, like Robin Freins has only had 1 point scoring position back in Diriyah, and who knows? He had some great late season form last year. He won two races in Paris and New York. Daniel Abt, who is driving for Neo. I mean, like, we don't expect much from him, but he is a Berlin specialist. He has always done well around Berlin, even in the Race Home Challenge. Wink, wink. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? Anything could happen in these last 9 days. But yeah, no, that's why I love it so much, because there is 150 points plus up for grabs. No one's going to get all 150 points, but yeah, no, it's going to be a really exciting end to the season. So I just can't wait for tomorrow morning at whatever time practice 1 is.
The beauty of it is when I interviewed Dilbag Gill and he said, "You do realise Alex Lynn could still win this championship?" And I'm like, yeah, he could. It's just, that's how crazy it is. If he
does, I'm going to do a shoey on the show.
Yeah, it has to be done. But the thing is, that goes for Sergio Sette Camara, right? And we have to remember, right, we're going into this through, and I think it's worth mentioning, right? So you've got Rene Rast in the Audi, you've got Sergio Sette Camara, you've got Daniel Abt moving to Neo. What do you think well, not Abt as much, but for Sergio Sette Camara and what's his face? I've forgotten his name. Sergio Sette Camara and Rene Rast and Alex Lynn. There you go. I've managed to get them all in. What do you expect from them? Because they're coming in, and it's actually quite hard. Maybe Alex Lynn, he's got some experience, but Sergio Sette Camara and Rene Rast hasn't really. You got to forget the time Rene Rast did that race in Berlin, because it's a different generation of car. Like, what? How would they prepare? How do you think they're going to prepare for 6 races, 9 days? Different track layouts, different car, in one day, and it's all done. It'll be finished. Like, do we put too much expectations on them? Because if we think Jay Penske, he's putting the pressure on Sergio Sette Camara to scoring the points, and I'm like, oh, that's 1 step at a time, lad.
Well, what I'm fairly certain that Rene Rast and Alex Lynn have had these test days in their respective cars that they're going to race in Berlin, whereas I'm not sure what Sergio Sette Camara's done. I haven't seen him around Silverstone, but yeah, and I am led to believe, I think I read somewhere that Daniel Abt has done some stuff in the Neo simulator. I'm not sure if he came over to 5 minutes away from me, but if he did, I'm very annoyed because I missed him. But yeah, that the beauty is that all of these guys could win the championship. But the thing is, their cars. I think the cars that they're in, I don't think they really have the potential to win the championship. So Audi, we've spoken and about this on the show, and we've said that Audi have probably delivered their worst car to date. And so, I mean, like, Lucas Di Grassi is doing a fantastic job up in 5th in the championship. But yeah, we saw Daniel Abt languishing, I think, in 16th, 17th. So yeah, I think and there's more or less the same with Mahindra as well. Mahindra haven't had the best season so far. I think even Jerome D'Ambrosio struggled. He's on 3 points. Pascal Wehrlein got a 4th in Santiago, but yeah, it hasn't been great for these 2 teams. So I think coming in, I think it will be a bit of a struggle. But if they can get some solid points, I think that'll be a successful. I think that'll be a successful 6 races for them. As for Daniel Abt, it's just him against Oliver Turvey. See what he can do, because Ollie's been in that team since Battersea season 1. So yeah, it could, yeah. So yeah, for him it's for that, and for Sergio Seta Camara, it's just where he is on pace with Nico Müller. So yeah, I think the rookies will have a relatively tough time, but as long as they're there or thereabout, I think they should be fine.
I think it's like a Nico Hulkenberg thing. I don't think what Jay Penske did was right, in saying that, I want him fighting for points. I don't know how you can come in limited testing and fight for points. I think you're asking way too much of him and putting way too much pressure. Like Nico Hulkenberg, just come in and perform, and I pray to God that your car doesn't break down on Sunday. So I don't know. I was just thinking what to say next. For me, I don't know. I think we should maybe pick a winner, which was kind of what we're doing on the grid ranking show that I will be on at 5 p.m. today, live stream. There'll be a link in Twitter and Discord. So, yeah, it's definitely going up at the exact same time, so you probably would have missed my show by now. But anyway, never mind. You can catch the highlights of me again on another show somewhere else. But what do you think, like, a winner? Like, let's pick a winner for these first two races and, like, stick our neck on the line. And I did stick my neck on the line on the grid ranking show on Saturday, and I went for Mitch Evans to win one race. I think maybe Evans will win one, and I'm going to go for a shocking one. I'm going to go for an Oliver Rowland to mix things up and say because I think Oliver Rowland, well, if his race at home challenge was anything to go by, he grew and grew at these tracks that he went to, and if he's been doing a lot of work on the simulator, and if that makes him actually faster on track, he could be a dark horse going into these two races. So I'm going to stick my neck on the line and go Mitch Evans and Ollie Rowland, I think, as my two race winners going into this midweek race.
And go Jean-Eric Verne, because he hasn't won a race yet this season. He's 8th in the championship, so he's not in Q1, which means that he has a little bit of track advantage. Obviously, we've said on the show that the track advantage isn't as much as it is at other tracks, but still, I think Jean-Eric will win. Well, he'll win one of these 6 races, but at minimum. But yeah, no, I'm gonna say Jean-Eric Verne for one of them. I now need to look down the field, up and down. Do you know what? I'm going to say a first ever Formula E win for Stoffel Van Dorn on Mercedes home soil.
That could happen because Mercedes have been improving, and yeah, I think that could happen. That could happen indeed. Last word, just before we go, what driver do you think has the most to show? Like, has the most to prove in these couple races? I'll go first. And I'm going to stick with what I've been saying for ages, and it's Oliver Turvey. I think he's got the most to prove. He's now got Daniel Abt in that seat next to him. Everyone says Turvey is the underrated driver, and I think this is the time he has to prove it.
Well, yeah, funnily enough, I was actually going to say Daniel Abt just to show Audi that he was, just so Audi that they were wrong. See if he can go up against Oliver Turvey, who is widely regarded as the most underrated driver on the grid, like you alluded to there. So yeah, no, I think we've gone for both Neos. Let's see them finish 23rd and 24th.
I hope not. I hope they manage to find some time, but it'd be interesting to see how they do. And also what we haven't talked about in today's show, and we've not got any time to really now, is we don't really know who's made any inroads during this time.
No,
we don't really know because
it is anyone's guess.
We don't know how. We say Audi has made the worst car. They may have improved it, and all of a sudden they're fighting for podiums. The grid order, the car performance indicators could be completely different by the time we end up qualifying on Wednesday. We could be shocked. We might not be shocked, but we could be shocked. We could see, oh my God, where did Mahindra come from? Where did Audi come from? How on earth have Tech Cheetah fallen back to 9th fastest? Like, we just don't know.
That's something I'm not expecting anyone to say to Cheetah 9th fastest.
Yeah, so, as we said, anything can happen in Formula E, and that's pretty much it for the show. I want to say a massive thanks to Jack for joining me.
Thank you.
And remember, so if you it's race week, so come and join us in our Discord channel. The link is below. You want to talk Formula E? This is a crazy time. Discord is popping off. So many people excited for the Formula E return. Formula E Fest, as we're calling it on Grid Network. It is a festival of Formula E. So come and join us in the Discord channel. Come and say hi. Come and join the community. Twitch. We should be on Twitch later this afternoon. Probably would have missed half of the Twitch show by the time. But we might be doing a... which would be happening probably right now if this goes out at 5 o'clock, would be sort of like a shakedown test and sort of like chatting through that while we all see Formula E cars on track for the first time. Patreon, if you love us that much, if you were listening to this show and you know what, I want to throw some money at those people, well, you can. Why not? And if you just go into the Patreon page, you can support us from as little as $1. So there you go, right? And if you're in the UK, that's 75p. So happy days, right? We'll be extremely, obviously, we love all our patrons. And, you know, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to do half the stuff we are able to do. But thank you so much for listening. We will be back. We've got some live shows as well. Okay, so Wednesday, Thursday, after the show, Twitch, about 8 o'clock, we will be doing some live recap races, live reaction from the drivers. We won't be able to see the drivers, but we'll be able to tell you what the drivers have been saying after the race, so you're all filled in after what's happened. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. We will see you very soon. Goodbye.